In the inferno of World War II, as machine guns chattered and tanks rumbled across Europe, one British officer decided the modern tools of war were just a bit boring. He preferred a longbow, a basket-hilted broadsword, and a set of bagpipes. This is the unbelievable true story of Lieutenant Colonel John Churchill, better known to the world as Mad Jack. Now, you might be thinking, a bow and arrow against the German war machine. Was this guy for real? Oh, he was very real. And his story isn't just a quirky footnote in history. It's a saga of incredible bravery, audacious tactics, and a spirit so indomitable it became legendary. Jack Churchill wasn't born into a medieval epic. He was a man of the 20th century, born in 1906, but from a young age, he had a fascination with the past and a flair for the unconventional. He was an expert archer, even representing Great Britain at the World Archery Championships in 1939. He was also a master bagpiper. These weren't just hobbies. To Jack, they were essential skills. When war broke out, he saw no reason to leave them behind. His reasoning was simple, if a little unorthodox. He believed an arrow was a silent killer, capable of striking terror into the enemy without giving away his position. As for the sword, any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed, he famously declared. And the bagpipes, well, what better way to charge into battle and boost morale? His first taste of major action was in 1940, during the Battle of France. As his unit, the Manchester Regiment, ambushed a German patrol, the enemy was met, not with the expected crack of rifles, but with the sudden thud of an arrow. Mad Jack had made his first kill of the war with his longbow, becoming the only known British soldier to fell an enemy with a bow and arrow in the conflict. He had silently taken out the enemy sergeant, sowing chaos and confusion before his men opened fire. The legend had begun. After the retreat from Dunkirk, Jack, hungry for more action, volunteered for the Commandos, the newly formed elite fighting force. This was a perfect fit. The Commandos were all about daring raids and unconventional warfare, and nobody was more unconventional than Jack Churchill. In December 1941, he was second in command of a commando raid on a German garrison in Vigsy, Norway. As the landing craft ramp dropped, who was the first man off, charging through the cold water towards the beach? It was Jack, of course. But he wasn't just running. He was playing his bagpipes, blasting the tune of March of the Cameron Men as bullets and mortar shells exploded around him. He then threw a grenade and charged into the fray, sword in hand. It was a scene straight out of a historical epic, dropped into the middle of the 20th century. But his most famous exploit, the one that truly cemented his legend, came in 1943 during the landings at Salerno, Italy. Leading his commandos, he was tasked with capturing a German observation post that was directing deadly mortar fire onto the Allied beachhead. The post, a fortified farmhouse, was heavily defended. Under the cover of darkness, Jack and a single corporal crawled their way towards the enemy position. Using his sword's hilt to knock on the door would be a bit loud. Instead, they relied on pure, unadulterated audacity. Jack suddenly leaped into view, sword held high, shouting "Hands up!" in German. The sheer shock of seeing a lone British officer with a medieval sword appear out of the night was so complete, so bewildering, that the German sentries were momentarily paralyzed. In that split second of confusion, Jack's men swarmed the position. They captured the post and took an astonishing 42 prisoners, plus the mortar crew, all thanks to one man's nerve and his trusty broadsword. He simply walked among the stunned Germans, relieving them of their weapons and patting them on the shoulder, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. He led the prisoners back to the British lines, carrying his sword in one hand and making his captives carry their own wounded on stretchers. When asked about the feat, he simply remarked that it was a good bag of prisoners. But Jack's luck wasn't infinite. In 1944, he was sent to Yugoslavia to support the partisans led by Josip Broz Tito during an assault on a German-held hill. His unit was overwhelmed. With almost all his men killed or wounded around him, Jack stood alone on the hilltop, playing "Will Ye Know Come Back Again" on his bagpipes until he was knocked unconscious by a grenade blast. The Germans, finding this sword-wielding bagpipe-playing officer, were initially confused. They thought he might be related to Winston Churchill. He wasn't, but the Germans treated him as a high-value prisoner anyway, flying him to Berlin for interrogation before sending him to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Did a concentration camp stop Mad Jack? Of course not. For him, it was just another challenge. In September 1944, he and a Royal Air Force officer crawled under the wire and through a drain to escape. They were recaptured a few days later, but the attempt alone was audacious. He was then moved to another camp in Austria. In April 1945, sensing the war was nearing its end, he simply walked out. The camp's power system had failed, and under the cover of darkness and confusion, he slipped away. He then walked for 8 days and 150 miles, surviving on vegetables stolen from gardens, until he met an American armored column in Italy. He was free. You'd think after all that, he'd be ready for a quiet life. But Jack was disappointed to find the war in Europe was over. He was immediately sent to the Pacific, but by the time he got to Burma, the war ended there too, after the atomic bombs were dropped on Japan. Jack was genuinely annoyed. He later grumbled, "If it wasn't for those damn Yanks, we could have kept the war going another 10 years. His post-war life was anything but dull. He served in British Palestine, where he became famous for another act of incredible bravery, coordinating the evacuation of 700 Jewish doctors, students, and patients from a hospital that was under attack. He later became an instructor at a land air warfare school in Australia, where he embraced his love of surfing. And, naturally, he took up a new hobby, designing and building his own surfboards. He even had a cameo in the 1952 film Ivanhoe, fittingly, as an archer. He finally retired from the army in 1959 with 2 distinguished service orders to his name. He spent his retirement sailing the Thames, playing with radio-controlled model warships, and, of course, playing his bagpipes. He passed away in 1996, at the age of 89, a true one-of-a-kind adventurer. Mad Jack Churchill's story is more than just a collection of wild anecdotes. It is a testament to the power of individuality and courage in the face of overwhelming conformity and danger. In a war defined by technology and impersonal conflict, he fought on his own terms, with the weapons of his choosing and an unbreakable spirit. He lived by his own code and proved that sometimes the most effective weapon of all is the sheer, unshakable will of a single, extraordinary person. His motto says it all. Any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this incredible story, please hit that like button, and consider subscribing for more tales of history's most fascinating characters. Let us know in the comments what you think of Mad Jack's unbelievable courage. We'll see you in the next one.